Yeah, okay, time to live free. Plenty goals I'm achieving. Some real life topics and talking financial freedom. Mindset, soul and love, everything in between. This is Freedom Podcast. Tune in, live free. Hey, got my mindset right and I got the drive. Planning one day, no more job, no more 9 to 5. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. This is Freedom. Tune in, cause it's going down. Woo!
Hi, this is Anna and welcome to another episode of Your Freedom Podcast. In this episode, I interview Meghla Bhardwaj, who's the founder of India Sourcing Trip. Meghla has been working in the Asia sourcing industry for close to 20 years. She's passionate about helping Amazon and e-commerce sellers source effectively and sell more. Meghla also organises a number of events and conferences in Hong Kong and Singapore and a unique sourcing trip to India. She's been interviewed on numerous podcasts and webinars and presented at many sourcing and e-commerce conferences. And I met Meghla back in 2019 at the White Label Expo where we were both speaking. And it's a shame recently with everything that's been happening with the COVID virus because I was meant to be going with her on her recent trip to India. But next year we'll be back out there. And, you know, Meghla's got a very inspiring story. She's been quite through tragic adversity. And I'm really excited to be interviewing Meghla to find out a little bit more about her journey. Hi, Meghla. Great to have you.
Hi, Anna. Great to be here. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So, Meghla, we met, it was about a year ago, wasn't it, at the White Label Expo?
Yeah. It was December 2019 when we could still travel.
Well, yeah, that venue was actually made into a hospital recently, surprisingly. But yeah, we met at the White Label Expo when you were sharing and speaking about your India sourcing trip. And I really value your time today because you've been one of the people that has inspired me over this last 12 months. I know you interviewed me on your Asian Seller podcast. But I think you've got quite an inspiring story, and I know that you do your India sourcing. That's kind of your, I suppose, expertise amongst many other things as regards to sourcing and Amazon and e-commerce. But I just wanted you to share a little bit about your journey, I suppose. You know, in the Freedom Podcast, we talk about the 3 pillars being love, money, and mind. And I know you've had a few life challenges, but you've also had some really good success. And we're all having challenges right now with the COVID situation. And I know you're having quite a few with the fact that you do a regular sourcing trip to India. But how did this kind of all come about? How did you get to the point where you were doing these India sourcing trip?
Wow, so it's been quite a journey to where I am today. So let me just go back, 30 years or so.
Yeah.
And start at the beginning. So, I was, I grew up in Delhi, in India. I was born in India, grew up in India. And I was, my husband, or my future husband, was actually my neighbor growing up. And so we've known each other for a really, really long time before we got married. And 2001, I got married to him. I started working, I think in 1997, I started working, and then I got married to him in 2001. And at that time, he was running a business in India that wasn't doing too well. And so we were looking for other alternatives or trying to find something to do, together, or maybe just try to maybe go to another place, outside of India to see if we can start a new life. And at that time I was working for a company called Global Sources in India, and there was an opportunity in their Manila office. So, we thought, oh, okay, let's go to Manila and see what life will, what opportunity is life for us over there, because his business was not doing too well and we were looking for opportunities. So that's how we ended up in Manila in the Global Sources office. And we, stayed there for about 3 years. And it was really hard for him to start a business over there because he couldn't find too much to do. And so then another opportunity came up to move to China. So with Global Sources. And so then we moved to China in 2006. And, there, I was working for Global Sources, of course, and then he started his business where he was importing stuff from China into India, and he was working basically like a sourcing agent. And life was good there. So my son was born in 2010, and that was an adventure in itself, because I don't speak Chinese, and the doctor didn't speak English, and the nurses didn't speak English. So that was quite an adventure, but it was all good. And we were having a good time. His business was good and everything. And then we, as my son was growing up, we were concerned about his education, because in China, of course, the schools are all in Chinese, and the international schools are super, super expensive. And so we wanted to move to another country for his education. And then that's why we chose Singapore, because there are a lot of different options over here. And so Global Sources actually has an office in Singapore. And so I asked them to relocate me to Singapore, and it worked out. And so we moved here in 2015. He had to, of course, shut down his business and everything over there. He had a Hong Kong-based company. So we were going to start things over in Singapore. However, 2017, he had a massive heart attack, and we lost him. He passed away. So I was like totally devastated, and it just came out of the blue, not expected at all. And I wasn't even there when it happened. I was in Hong Kong for the conference that I organized, and my son FaceTimed me early in the morning, and he said, this is what's happening to Papa, and the doctors are here and everything. And of course I rushed back, but by the time I came back, it was just too late.
Wow.
So it was just,
isn't it? The shock of something like that.
Yeah, for a couple of days, I was in total shock, and you just don't know what's hit you and what's happened, and how do you pick up the pieces. But then gradually, you start picking up the pieces, but there's still this fog around you that kind of just surrounds you, and you just don't know what to do and where to go, and you're going about your daily life, but there's this huge hole in your heart that you don't know if it's gonna ever fill or not. But then,
how did you kind of, I know obviously I think children sometimes, from my experience, when you go through things, kind of help you a little bit, because they give you a reason to kind of keep the routine or things going, don't they? But how did you kind of, how did you pick yourself up from something like that?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. So my son was basically my inspiration, and I kept reminding myself that I am responsible for him now, and if something happens to me, then who's going to take care of him? So I need to be strong myself for his sake, for to take care of him. And but there were days when I just felt so weak, and the thought of just ending our lives did come to me, because it just seemed so daunting to go through life alone, especially because my husband was really my pillar, and we were together for 30 years, and he was the only person basically I knew, and we were like really, really, really close. More than husband and wife, we were really good friends and partners. So but you're right. My son was basically my pillar of strength, and I don't know what I would have done if my son wasn't there. So and then but at least I had my job, right? I had Global Sources, and I had a stable job. So I started working 2 weeks after he passed away, because I wanted to stay busy and keep myself involved. So but then exactly a year later, Global Sources announced that they're going to close the Singapore office and move everybody to Hong Kong. So we were all going to lose our jobs over here. And then I was like, okay, can this get any worse now? So now I'm not going to have a job soon. So then I was thinking of other options, and there were quite a few different things that I tried. So first of all, I'm not a permanent resident here in Singapore, where Global Sources was sponsoring my visa. We were on employment pass. So I tried to apply for permanent residency here in Singapore.
So you could have even been then kicked out of Singapore as well.
Yes, exactly. We could have been kicked out. So I tried to apply for permanent residency. That was rejected. Then I was trying to apply for various jobs, not getting much success. And then I tried to, apply for Australia. So like a residency in Australia, they have the system where you have to meet certain criteria, and if you achieve a certain number of points, you're eligible to migrate there. So I tried doing that, and I was just so close to getting accepted. But twice what happened was, as soon as I was going to apply, or I was really close to meeting the criteria, they changed the rules and I was suddenly made, ineligible to apply. So, and it happened twice, not once, but twice.
Wow.
So, and then I was, at that point I was thinking, maybe I just can't do this all alone. I need a partner, that's what I need. Maybe I just need somebody, that I can be with, and maybe Aditya needs a father too. So then I tried dating. And that was such a disaster. I went on these dating sites and I met a couple of people over here, and then I did some online dating, and it was just, oh my God, there are such like literally crooks and weird people out there. I tried that for a month and I was like, oh my God, this is not for me. I'm just going to see if somebody comes along. So yeah, that didn't work out. But at that point, it just felt that I was going toward, something, and it felt like, okay, there's a tunnel, and I'm in a tunnel, and there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm going toward the light, and okay, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. This is going to work out for me. And then as I was going toward the, end of the tunnel, it would just get dark and there was no way out. And then I had to choose another path. So that 1 year or so was just so, tumultuous for me. And then finally I decided to start my own business. And actually, it's thanks to this whole e-commerce community that really supported me and gave me these suggestions. So I think a couple of people I was just talking to, one of them is CJ. I have to give him credit for this. So it was, while we were talking, it was his idea to actually start a trip to India.
Right.
And yeah. And so I said, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. I've worked in India. I know how things work there.
Yeah.
And I have this huge e-commerce community, and people are looking to source from India because of the tariffs at that time. So that's how the idea was born. And I started doing some research. And then I even flew to India, met with service providers and, a lot of people over there to do some background research and how would I go about doing this sort of a trip. And then, of course, there were some logistics issues as well, because in Singapore, I needed somebody to sponsor my visa because I'm not a resident here.
I was thinking, how did you get the visa thing?
Yeah, but Singapore is a very, very business-friendly country. And so there is a way where you can actually start up your own company and be employed by your own company or sponsored by your own company.
Okay.
So that's what I've done. And yeah, so then I started the trip. The first trip was held in October 2019, and that was a huge success. And then I was like, okay, this is great. This is going to be awesome. I'm just going to do these trips. And I was planning a trip to China as well. I was planning a conference in Singapore, and I had these huge plans. But then, of course, COVID hit earlier this year, and the trip had to be postponed. And yeah, and it's still on hold, of course. So the last few months have been really difficult for me, and I've been trying to figure out what to do and trying to pivot towards virtual sourcing shows. And, I've had to like really change all of my business plans because of COVID.
But I've seen some of the online virtual sourcing shows that you've done, and I think they've been really, really valuable. And I'm sure you've had other positive feedback on those. I know you've also launched your own Amazon business, haven't you, as well, through this?
Yes, I launched my own business earlier this year, and I tested 2 products on Amazon US. One of them is doing well, so I've ordered a second batch, and hopefully Q4 would be will be good for those products. It's kind of a gift item, so yeah,
Are they
looking forward to
are they
that.
sourced from India, are they?
No, so this first one is sourced from China, and there's another one that I'm doing that's in the pipeline, and that's going to be from India.
Right, okay. I think, you know, you've got such a wealth of experience with your global sources background, with not just sourcing obviously from India, which I think a lot of people, I think because you're Indian, you know, by the roots of you, you know, and everybody sees you as the India sourcing trip, but actually you've got a wealth of knowledge with all sorts of different sourcing from China and other smaller places from memory, like Vietnam and things like that, just from the whole global sources. And I think everything that, you know, your whole journey when we connected and we were sort of sharing our adversities with my story, you know, I think being a female entrepreneur has its challenges, and also being a single parent has its challenges. But children do get you through these difficult times. I think it's really inspiring for you to come on here and sort of share your journey, really, of how you kind of got through, you know, the passing of your husband. And then I didn't realise losing your job practically with the Singapore office going, and nearly, you know, being removed from Singapore with a visa, that you've shown that you've got that resilience to keep going forward. You know, like for people that are maybe listening to this who could be going through something themselves, or may have be going through some kind of bereavement, is there anything that you can share with them of any kind of anything that you found helpful through those sort of challenging times, or anything that you want to give from an advice point of view?
Yeah, I think as far as bereavement is concerned, what I would say is let yourself feel the grief and don't resist it. So, like some people, they, you know, may not be able to express themselves, or, you know, they don't let themselves feel the grief, and they don't cry it out, for example, or, you know, talk to somebody else. But I think for me at that time, you know, there were many nights where I just cried myself to sleep, and I used to talk to friends, and I felt that when I talked about it, it was more, you know, I came to accept it a little bit more. But when I didn't talk about it, it was just bottled up inside of me, and I kept thinking about it, then it just sort of was eating me from the inside, and you know, I would start to get depressed. So I would suggest that definitely, it's okay to miss the person. It's okay to grieve about them, and it's really important to talk about them and talk about how you feel, and also what you miss about them. And that's something that I still do with my son. I don't want him to, you know, of course, forget his dad, but I also want him to express his feelings, because he has not, I mean, at that time he was not able to express himself. He was 5 years old at that time. And you know, he knew that his dad is gone, but even after a few months he would ask, are you sure he's gone? Like, where is he gone? You know, because kids don't really understand the concept of death. But of course now he understands that. So yeah, that would be my advice. Just basically make sure you talk to people. It's okay to feel, to grieve, and time is the best healer. I think you just have to, you know, tell yourself that repeatedly, that as time goes by, you will heal.
Yeah, exactly. I think sometimes we're getting over a shock like that. Whatever it is, it kind of like the like you say, time does kind of heal from it. And of course, sharing it with other people. I think us as humans, we feel like we should be perfect, and that we can't, you know, getting upset is a weakness, or, you know, we kind of beat ourselves up too much sometimes, when actually when you go through anything, whether it's, you know, bereavement, or you know, maybe a health condition yourself and things like that, it's kind of like, you know, just give yourself a break a little bit, and just, like you say, release it, and let it go a little bit, and talk to people. So yeah, thanks. That's really good advice.
And it
So
took me about 2.5 years for the fog to lift, because there literally was a fog all around me. And I didn't realize it at that time, but when it lifted, that's when I saw things clearly. And I was like, what was that? It was like I was living in a haze for
yeah,
more than 2 years. And so it does take time to heal after you go through such such an experience.
yeah, definitely. So so everything with, obviously you've got the China trip, sorry, the India sourcing trips are on hold with travel, not happening sort of globally.
Yeah.
What is it you're kind of focusing on right now? What's the future as regards to what you can do virtually? What's the stuff that's going down with Meghla?
Yes, I've had to really pivot towards virtual events, and I've done some consulting for Global Sources and a couple of other companies for virtual events. So recently, Global Sources hosted their own online show, so I helped with that, and I'm also helping with other projects for Global Sources. I'm still working for them as a consultant, and that helps a little bit. And then I'm also planning to do more virtual events moving forward, especially for sellers in Asia. And then, of course, the virtual India sourcing show that I'm doing, even though it's not bringing a lot of revenue as such. I mean, we're charging suppliers to feature their products, but it's not a lot, but at least it's something. So yeah, I'm just trying to survive 2020.
Yeah,
Or
I think there's a lot of virtual stuff happening. And I think, like, even in the future, that obviously physical events, you kind of can't beat an actual event, can you? Because you get to know people, and you, especially with sourcing, you get to feel and touch the products and things like that. But I do think this whole COVID thing is making people think more about virtual stuff, isn't it? With us knowing that e-commerce is growing massively, but also just virtual events. I'm seeing around a lot of people doing a lot more virtual events, which I think is quite good as well. I think it'd be good in the future to have the balance of these kind of things, really, for people who maybe can't travel or don't want the expense of traveling. That before there wasn't really that much available, was there, to be able to do those things?
yeah.
And I think I've seen some of your virtual shows. I think they're really fab to get a real idea and a taster of those products
Exactly.
before you start having those conversations with suppliers. So
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But I think nothing really beats, a handshake and look in the eye and a hug.
I
So you
know.
really, I think once travel opens up and once it's okay to travel again, we will really look forward to physical in-person events. But of course, until then, we've got to make do with virtual events.
Yeah. So I know we've kind of connected on a few kind of girl power stuff, and I remember you interviewed a few of us for how single mums do it all type of thing.
Yeah.
Any kind of shares as regards to any sort of female listeners that may be thinking about becoming an entrepreneur or starting a business? Anything you want to share on that side?
Just do it. Just do it. Don't think. Don't think. Seriously, I did not think I could run a business on my own. I just don't have any confidence in myself. I mean, to run a business as such, and I had no experience running a business on my own, but it's just so fulfilling. It's so much more enjoyable than working for somebody else. And it also gives you a lot of freedom. I mean, now I really understand what people say to some extent when they say, okay, e-commerce is going to give you freedom, and I know we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, but that's my advice. I mean, if you really want to do want to start your own business, whether it's e-commerce or anything else, then just go for it. Don't think twice, because the other thing that I was thinking when I started my business was that time is running out. I'm almost 45 now. When am I going to start a business if not now?
Yeah.
So it's probably my last chance to
I think
to start my
sometimes
own
as
business.
well, like I think we get fearful of making mistakes, but I've made loads of mistakes and I've just then found a solution. So you make like a mistake and then you just get over that, and there's always challenges, aren't there, in a kind of business or setting up that you're trying to work out. but there's always a solution. So just finding that solution. So I think we fear things that actually don't really exist a lot of the time when you're trying to do something new. And I've always said to people that change is uncomfortable, and actually it's good to feel uncomfortable. It's not nice feeling uncomfortable, but it's good because it means you're actually growing by doing something a bit different or starting something new. So when we feel comfortable, it's actually, we're just doing the same thing day in, day out, aren't we? And we're not kind of stretching ourselves as much. So yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. So what would you say is your biggest success then today?
I think my biggest success is just starting my entrepreneurial venture. That has been such a huge, big step for me. I think that's I've had to overcome a lot of different challenges for that, internally. So I didn't have much confidence. I didn't have any experience setting up a company and, doing accounting and taxes and all of those kinds of things. And it's just the beginning. So I'm looking forward to growing the company even more. And, hopefully this roadblock that I've encountered so early in the business is going to, make me stronger and more resilient.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
So yeah, thanks for sharing that, because I think it really does help people, especially when people are actually thinking about dipping their toe into an entrepreneurial journey, and especially being like a single parent, a female entrepreneur, it has its challenges. And it was great probably that CJ all those years ago kind of gave you that push to kind of dip your toe in. And I think that's what's great about our kind of e-commerce network, really. We've got quite a good community, haven't we? I know what I was going to say. You've built your Facebook group into massive numbers that are really, really impressive. I think you've hit, was it 5,000 recently? Or was it even
Yeah, it's 5,000.
So,
and that's another thing that I've really consciously put in a lot of effort into, because I strongly believe that I want to prove to people that I can help them. I can truly add value to their lives, to their businesses, before I can ask them to pay me for a service. That's what I strongly believe in, because why would somebody pay me, without knowing who I am, or without knowing what my expertise is, and without trusting me? So that's one of the reasons that I built the community, and I provide a lot of free content, because I want to, show people that, okay, here's all the free content that I can give you. So think how much more value you'll get if you come on my trip.
yeah, exactly. And I think you do that absolutely amazingly, because your group is just really buzzing in there. You've got really high levels of value that you give to all the members in the group. Do you want to share the details of your group for people who may want to come and join in and have a look what's on offer?
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity. So you can search for Sourcing from India, Amazon FBA Private Label. That's the name of the group. And feel free to join in. When you join in, you'll also get a free ebook that gives you an overview of how to source from India.
And is there anything else you want to share? Because you've also got your own podcast as well, haven't you?
Yes, so I'm building a community of e-commerce and Amazon sellers here in Asia, so Singapore, India, Thailand, all the non-China Asia. And so check out the podcast at theasianseller.com. I try to feature a lot of sellers from Asia, and of course other countries as well.
I do think those countries are going to be really kind of up and coming. I know that there's always the discussion around Singapore sort of leading the way, isn't there, as regards to like Singapore, Dubai. What are the other Asian countries? There's Japan as well in there, isn't there? That's included in Asia, I think, in my geography. So is there rumours of any other kind of Asia countries, do you know of, that might be joining that group?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in the future, and it's growing. So currently what's happening is that Amazon specifically is trying to recruit a lot of sellers for their Singapore marketplace over here. They're trying to grow the number of sellers and products on that marketplace. And the assumption is maybe a couple of years, I don't know, 1-2 years down the line, they will expand to other Southeast Asian countries as well. So Singapore is sort of a gateway to other countries such as Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, which are much bigger markets. Singapore is a very small country, the population about 6 million, but Southeast Asia is about 600 million. So that's the bigger marketplace that you want to target eventually. And if you start now, then you sort of get some experience selling in Asia, starting with Singapore, so that you're ready for when the entire Southeast Asian market opens up, you're ready for that. And the other thing that Amazon is doing over here is that they're recruiting a lot of sellers to sell on Amazon.com. So there's the Amazon global selling team over here that's very proactive. And so I'm working with a lot of those kinds of sellers as well, trying to connect them with, experts like yourself who would give them training or, just providing content to people over here. And down the line, providing maybe paid workshops or paid events for sellers over here.
Right. Okay. Fab. Brilliant. Any other kind of, I know you're on Insta, but any other kind of pointers for anybody to come and check you out? Anything else you want to share before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I think that's about it. So the India sourcing group, that's one way to join the community. And then the asianseller.com, you can join the community there.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about the freedom question?
Yeah, I was going to come to that. I was going to say thank you.
Sorry, we have to edit this out.
Thank you for sharing what is a sort of an emotional story, really, and how you kind of got through that with your resilience and determination for kind of really inspiring your son as well, I think, along the way, and kind of making sure that he grows into a strong-minded adult, as it were, because I understand obviously the challenges as being a single parent, and what that entails sometimes. So I really, really do appreciate your time. And as you were saying, I always ask everybody at the end of the podcast of what does freedom mean to you? So what does freedom mean to you, Meghla?
So I've realized that freedom means, for me to be able to choose what I do, when I do, and at my own terms. So I didn't really realize that I was missing out on this freedom when I had a full-time job. Because now that I'm an entrepreneur, I can, work whenever I want. Maybe I work early in the morning. I'm working longer hours for sure, working weekends and everything. But then if I want to, go to the zoo with my son on a Monday, I can do that.
Yeah.
He's been sick for the last couple of weeks actually. So I'm here at home taking care of him. I'm working, and at the same time I'm tending to him as well. So that is, I think, one of the definitions of freedom for me, freedom of time.
Yeah.
And my business, my entrepreneurial venture has allowed me to do that. And of course, freedom of money. I think that has been really important for me right from the beginning. In fact, since I was in school, I really wanted to be independent, and I was doing all sorts of odd jobs. And the very first job that I did when I was in school was selling cigarettes. It was a part-time job, and I was like, oh, whatever.
Fab. So you've always had an entrepreneurial spark, haven't you? The saleswoman in you.
Exactly. And then I was selling, shampoo and all sorts of stuff, and I was doing odd jobs throughout my college and high school as well. And so that is super important. And I've always had my job. I've always had the freedom of money and financial freedom. And so that's super important, because if I didn't have that, what would I have done? After my husband passed, I just wouldn't have been able to survive. So I think that is very important for me. And I really encourage all women to have that financial freedom, or to strive for that financial freedom.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, whether they're with their partner or not, because I think it gives them that, like you say, that independence.
Yeah.
And rather than kind of like relying on a man for absolutely everything.
Exactly.
So I think, mate, go on. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say this. I'll tell you this little story of one of my friends over here. She's married, got 3 kids, not working, stay-at-home mom. And I asked her to help me with my social media and everything, and I'm paying her a monthly salary for that. So she's sort of my virtual assistant, and that has just given her so much more confidence now, just being able to do that and earn some money. And it's just made such a huge difference in her life, even though it's not a big amount. But yeah, she feels more empowered. So yeah.
Definitely. Well, big thank you. Thanks for sharing everything. And look forward to, I know I was meant to be going on the India sourcing trip in April. So look forward to getting out to Delhi and the Delhi Fair. Is it the Delhi Fair, the new Delhi Fair? I always forget.
Delhi Fair, yes.
In 2021. So thanks very much for sharing your journey. And I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna.
Thanks.
Hey, thank you for listening. Hope you had a blast. Here to elevate your life. It's the Freedom Podcast. Love, money, mind. Love, money, mind. Wanna see you all win. Wanna see you all shine. Just make sure that you subscribe. Bringing good vibes. Join the Facebook group. Now it's time to change your life. Hope you come back. Right now is the chance. This is an experience. It's the Freedom Podcast. Hey.